What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a Friday edition of Back Your Play with Q. I'm your host, as always, Rich Quinones, from our good friends over at Play It Again Sports, 1450 Clemsford Road. Check them out online, open 7 days a week. They got wonderful used and new sports equipment and more merchandise. I was actually in the store a couple weeks ago checking out some of the weights because, as everyone knows, I love to get into the fitness. So you got some barbells and dumbbells. You got some boxing equipment. You got a ton of NFL jerseys, which, by the way, God knows who's going to be wearing some of these jerseys as the season is upon us, which means our weekly spot with our guy, the Professor Sean, kind enough to join us on a Friday edition of BYP Prop. What's going on, brother?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing
Rich,
well.
how
I'm
you
doing
doing?
real well. And, it's funny, too, because we have, I guess the conversation over the last 24, 48 hours, the running back position in the NFL. I know you are an extremely knowledgeable sports fan and a diehard football fan and historian. And I've tried to tell people over the last several days, the position is not like it once was. I mean, think about this. If we can put some money on some of these running backs that we think would maybe crack 1,000 yards, everyone and their mother's cracking 1,000 yards in the NFL. That used to be the barometer. It's not anymore. And I think that's one of the reasons that the position has been devalued over the last several years. And I also think you can blame the players union because they came up with this goofiness where you can tag a player 2 straight years.
I mean, there's a lot of things working against running backs. I don't know if you saw Austin Eckler's tweet or his comments this week. And I mean, listen, I get it. He's frustrated. He had a great year last year. There's probably, I'd say, almost no chance he's going to have that same year this year.
Right.
I'm going to go out on a limb. But I get it why him and Saquon Barkley are aggravated because they've had a false sense of what their worth was compared to, when they first started playing the position. And they have a serious blind spot when it comes to what they should be paid or their importance. I mean, literally, you could draft a running back, let them play, franchise tag them, make them play, draft another running back. I mean, they're just the rule changes have made where the running back position or people that play running back aren't as – you can't overpay them. For multiple reasons, they get injured. Once they hit 30, that's old for a running back. If you started in this league at 23 or 22, it's a lot of miles. And for some reason, there's a fan base out there and agree with the running back, say, hey, they should get paid. That's not how this works. There's a cap, and you have to pay. Because of the cap, you have to prioritize where your money's going to go. So, of course, your money's going to go in quarterback. Your money's going to go in protecting the quarterback in your line. Exactly. Your money's going to go in your receiver because it's your receivers because it's easier to pass now than it ever was. Yeah. It's going to go in your edge rushers. It's going to go in your corner. It's your running back you can do by committee. I mean, look at Pacheco from Rutgers. He's a 7th round pick. I feel like I kind of half trolled Austin Eckler online because his agent should really tell him to shut up. Is really, he's online saying, it means he's adamantly, saying, I want to talk to the owners. You might not like the answers that you get. The answers that you want to blame somebody, blame Pacheco. Because you're going to say, hey, if I'm an owner, I can say, well, I can get a 7th round guy. And then I can fill in with a 5th round guy. And if I want to mess around, I'll grab one of the veterans to come over.
Yep.
Or I'll grab the guy, or I'll grab you, at Mr. Eckler. And I'll rotate all 3 of you so nobody gets hurt. It's a running back by committee.
And you don't even have to worry about incentives, too, because they're going to be –
And I don't have to worry about incentives. It's just I don't think that they understand that the years – but if Jerry Jones's contract to Ezekiel Elliott didn't nail the coffin,
of course,
into the running backs, then what Le'Veon Bell did nailed even. I mean, not only nailed the coffin, it threw the graveyard away. Le'Veon Bell held out. He was jet skiing and hanging out and all. The Jets say, "Screw it, let me sign him a big contract." He stinks.
Yep.
And the rest is history. His career is shot. You can't hold down. Barkley's going to play, Rich.
100%. 100%.
He's going to play. I think he's just mad, and I think he's doing this. If he's smart, I don't think he's a dumb guy. I think he's smart. If he's smart, he'll come in, in 3 weeks or 4 weeks. What's he need training camp for the first 3 weeks? He's probably in shape.
He's in
so
shape.
You want to skip that beginning crap?
Yeah, I mean, he'll miss out on money, no doubt, but he's made $38 million already. It is 10.1 this year. He did turn down 2 potential offers that we know of that was been reported and floated out there. They just signed the kid Robinson, who was with Jacksonville and the Jets as well, which I think of as hey, you don't want to show up? Guess what? We're going to the train has to keep moving. But here's the problem, right? He goes out and puts up monster numbers and sticks it back at him. 250 carries, 1,300 yards, 7 touchdowns, adds another 33 receptions for 335 and a couple touchdowns. They're going to turn around. They're going to tag him again. So the Giant fans think they're not doing right by him now. What makes you think you're going to do right? The brass will do right by him next year. They're not.
And you could give him because if Barkley does play like that, that means the Giants are going to do pretty well. And if he doesn't get injured, I mean, I'm not so sure he's going to play the whole season. These guys get hurt, especially super athlete guys like him that touch the ball out. But I would make the contract overly incentive laden.
Yeah.
Give him the $10 million. Maybe if the Giants could just say, you know what, I'm going to give you $11 million just because. What precedent are you really saying? If you want to do that for Barkley, but but Austin Eckler is it different? Of course, you have I guess Eckler's looking at McCaffrey's contract. It's the only thing I can think of.
I mean, are they that comparable? I know he's kind of like a jackknife, Swiss Army knife, but I mean, do we put Eckler in the category of a Christian McCaffrey?
He thinks you do, but
I can't.
I mean, what he's insinuating, Rich, is that the owners are colluding, and it's not that the owners are colluding. There's only 32 teams. Number one, it's not that hard to collude if you want. You know what I mean? It's a copycat league.
Of course.
I mean, all the leagues copy. Say, okay, well, what am I going to do? Well, I mean, the GM of San Diego was basically saying, he said, go ahead, go see if anybody wants to pay you more. He's not dumb. Who's going to pay? Who's going to get stuck? You want to get stuck? It's bad enough if you get stuck paying the Bosa brothers and they get hurt. Yeah. It's bad enough. So the Chargers are in a position where I'd rather take a shot on Bosa and, he got hurt. That's terrible luck. The last thing I'm going to do is
take a shot on
overpay a running back and have him get hurt.
Yeah. And remember what McVay said.
The Chargers, Eckler needs to understand that if he doesn't even play this year, he's not as important as the quarterback there. He's not as a quarterback as their edge rusher. He's the run behind the line. I mean, I get it. It's a tough situation for him. He's got a blind spot. But the position, I trolled on Twitter, of course, and said, switch the linebacker. Saquon Barkley would have probably made a very good linebacker. He's a little short, but so what?
Yeah, it's funny too because that Gurley contract a couple of years ago, McVay turned around and said never again, and which kind of leads us into this. We're talking about the win totals, right? The over-unders in the NFL. Chargers actually say there's a bolo. So I've kind of broken it down into 3 tiers, right? You've got the teams that we think no matter what can hit that 11-12 plus mark. That would be Cincy, Philly, Kansas City at 11.5. Then you've got the 49ers and Buffalo right at 10.5. Then you've got a bolo. I think you've got about 8+ teams at 9.5, the Chargers being one of them. Let's, start, even though it's July, we've got plenty of time to really dive into this before the season. And I don't think these numbers are going to move exponentially, but
the numbers will be, the juice will move a lot.
Yeah.
Nobody will move a line. If you see a 10.5 Buffalo,
it's,
over -140, if they get hit with it, for whatever reason, it'll go to 170,
Yeah,
180,
that's
190,
my yes,
220
exactly.
before they move it to 11.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that listen, it's just like when you're betting with that half a point, right? I mean, that's a pain in the ass. You look at the schedule, you look at early season, you know this as much as I do. Defenses traditionally are always ahead of the offenses. Now, that wasn't the case necessarily early on last season, the first couple of weeks of the season, where teams were scoring 25, 30 plus points. But Cincinnati, Philly, Kansas City, 11 and a half. So, those three teams just as you kind of gloss them over, you would think the Eagles can get to that 12, 13 win mark, right? Just because the NFC East is not that strong. AFC North, different story. AFC West, potentially a different story as well. Do you like the over or the under when it comes to 11 and a half with those three teams that I just mentioned?
If you can make it 11 and if I can get 11 and a half on the Eagles, I like under. And I've already gotten some on under, not life changing by any mean, but I just think injuries play a huge part
Of course.
in these totals. That's why a lot of these teams that are sitting at 9, 9.5, 10, 11, it's very easy for them to get hurt and then limp to be 10 and 7 and limp into a wild card. The league has so much parity. Who was really good last year? It's hard to be really good consistently. Kansas City's been able to do it because their quarterback has stayed relatively healthy.
Yeah.
He's got the ankle issues, limping around. He's had some things happen to him, and he's been pretty durable. I said it before, the best thing about Tom Brady, you can argue either if he's the best of all time or he's played on the best team, whatever. But Tom Brady showed up for work all the time.
Yeah.
He was very rarely hurt. He missed that one whole season in New England, but outside of that, he always played. And
availability.
You compare that to Lamar Jackson, or compare it to Eagles fans don't want to hear it, but Jalen Hurts. People forget Jalen Hurts got hurt in a game. Would have been better for the Eagles to have lost that Bears game and him have played against Dallas. I guess in hindsight, I guess it didn't matter, maybe. But I know that if you're getting hurt on the road against a team that's not a playoff team and you still have 4 games left, maybe how are you going to protect the guy that runs, that's as good an athlete as that guy is?
So
Ravens have the same issue with Lamar. I mean, he's such a good athlete. You need him as a weapon to run. But when you run, and this goes back to our running back issue, if you're constantly carrying the ball, you're going to get injured.
Yep. So
it may not be ACL, but you're going to get. Just take a look at Austin Eckler's, for example. Go look at his injuries that he's had. They haven't been crazy, but by the end of the year, he gets nipped and tucked. So I think when that happens to your quarterback, you're going to see some of these teams. If the NFC East is poor, you're going to see like what happened this year. They sit him a couple games, and you don't get your win total out of it.
Then by that rationale, would you look at, say, like, listen, we don't know what's going to go on with the Titans. They've got 3 on that roster right now. They go deep. Tannehill's been off injured. They're waiting to get the young kid, not Willis, in there. I can throw out the Bears, right? I mean, think about it. You got another young quarterback that's prone to get hurt, but when he's on the field, not bad, even though Cowherd thinks he's going to.
And the quarterback's so important, Richie, to your wins.
Yeah.
I think we're getting very close because of the rules. And what happened with San Francisco last year really opened my eyes to it. I haven't read it anywhere. Now they passed the rule. Now you're allowed to have another quarterback.
Yep. Yeah, carry on the
for
roster.
The playoffs, that emergency guy. But are we heading toward a time where we're going to do platoon quarterbacks?
Well, it's
because if guys are going to get injured, do you have the Saints kind of were in that mode where they were running three guys out there for a while, and what's the name still got hurt.
Yeah.
Florida State kid still got hurt.
Winston. Yeah.
Winston still got hurt.
Listen, it's funny. If we're having this conversation in the 90s, we're thinking about when the Eagles knocked out everyone with the Oilers. The Giants were knocking out quarterbacks. The Bears were knocking out quarterbacks. I mean, remember, there was a time, people forget, where Walsh basically was playing Young and Montana against each other, right?
Yes.
People
forget that.
Yeah, Giants did it too. They win the Super Bowl. Sims, they go 13
and then Hostetler
10-1. Yep, Sims gets hurt. Hostetler comes in. Hanley decides, let me start Haas. It was a debacle, strike season 91. Sims came back because Haas got nicked up. Then it was back and forth until Reeves took over full time, and Sims was the starter in 93. So we've seen
Hanley's big mistake, Rich. Hanley's big mistake was even naming Hostetler as the permanent starter. He could have just said he's the temporary guy, because Lawrence Taylor was in Sims's camp.
Of course.
Sims got a big mouth. If you've ever seen him on TV, he was raising holy hell. But, how can I lose my position? Remember the year before, they the only loss Sims had was against the Eagles.
Yep.
I think they were 11, 13-1. And
they were, that was it. Well, he got hurt against Buffalo, right? A cold, rainy day in Giant Stadium.
And they played
Correct. The Eagles game was close going into the fourth, and then they scored 14 and went 31-10. I remember that game vividly.
And remember, they lost a really close game in San Fran on a Monday night, 7-3. They lost a real close game. So the idea of, I'm going to name Hostetler because you want him was just done. They shouldn't have said anything. And how I know this is because, even before that time when the Eagles drafted Randall Cunningham, they still had Jaworski. They were platooning third down with Cunningham. And I remember people going, "Oh, this is ridiculous. This is terrible." And it happened 10 years later when the Eagles brought in McNabb. They had Doug Peterson in there, and they were bringing in McNabb. And it seems silly, and the idea from the writers were like, "Oh, you need one guy to help your team." Maybe you don't now. Maybe if you have a couple guys on the same page.
I don't like that though, because I'm just
thinking about for health reasons.
I know what you're saying.
Get your guy reps. You need your backup to be. He can't be Chase Daniel. He's got to be Steve Youngish. He's got to be good.
How many backups turn out to be Hall of Fame quarterbacks?
That's true. Romo was a backup. Right? I mean, not Hall of Fame, but there was a lot of really good guys.
Say Favre sat there. Remember, Favre was drafted by Atlanta, traded to Green Bay.
Favre was a backup. If Mikowski doesn't get hurt, Favre probably didn't start a streak. Remember, Mikowski was considered a really good quarterback at that time.
10-6, the Magic Man, absolutely. I remember it drove Drew Brees. You can tell Brees was so adamant, enough of this crap. I don't want to come out on third down. He wants to pass every play. But even from a betting standpoint, I have to be very careful if I'm going to dick around with a team that we might see. That perfect example right now. How would you even approach the Washington win total this year? You sold the team, no more Snyder. You got Rivera, who you've listened to me for years. I mean, nice guy. If they don't make the playoffs this year or play competitive football, even though we're 8-1, he's going to be out of a job. You don't know who the starting quarterback. Honestly, we don't know who the starting quarterback is going to be. So to me, that's just as a crapshoot as you naming some of these other quarterbacks that maybe get hurt from time to time. Jones,
I like Washington's defense. Yeah, I like Washington's defense. I think the job Rivera did, I don't think he's a great coach, but I think what he did last year with all the nonsense going on, I think he did actually a decent job last year.
They were 8-1.
Yeah, I mean, they did, and he had no quarterback, although what's the name isn't terrible. He's not a bad quarterback. But there's also politics to play into this because the league and whoever it is, people want Art Bieniemy to be the head coach there. So if they go out 1-4, Rivera will get fired.
You think
pretty quickly?
See, I thought he should have been fired 2 seasons ago. Okay,
probably.
But to
But
your
with all the Daniel Snyder stuff, I think they gave him a pass. They just said, why are we going to bring in? And who would touch it? Would Sean Payton go
100%,
there?
100%.
Like, who's going to touch it with that? Now there's semblance of ownership. They got the Sixers guys in there or whatever. Rivera knows he's on a clock.
Okay,
because
so
I don't even think they want Bieniemy. I think they want, they want to aim even higher. But I do think that if they come out even 0-3 or something, I could see Rivera actually resigning, them giving the job to Rivera. To a Bieniemy. See what happens, and then next year, if Washington wins 9 games,
well, that leads me to this 6.5.
They'll keep the job. If not, there's not a lot of really good head coaches to go around again.
Well, would you play the win total? Would you play over 6.5? Knowing all Washington, you're talking about a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Uncertainties with this franchise right now.
Their schedule is weak. I only looked at it once. I'm going to look at it again. If I played, I don't see that total moving anywhere. If anything, these totals would go down because somebody gets hurt in these preseason games, which I also think, or worse,
training camp injury.
If somebody decides not to play, Barkley doesn't come back at all.
Yeah.
Like, we're completely wrong. But for Washington's win total, I actually like over 6.5 better. I don't think the East is going to be as terrible. I don't think the Eagles are going to run away with things the way that they are. I do think they'll make the playoffs, and I don't think they'll dominate like last year.
Product of the schedule.
I really like Sirianni. I like Sirianni simply because I've been saying stuff for 7 years on social media and wherever anybody would listen about the inability of head coaches to play all 4 downs. We kind of touched on it a while ago. Like, if you're going to go on 4th down, you don't make the decision like McCarthy on 4th down.
You make it on second
like
down.
The Packers did a couple years ago. You see what you're going to do on 3rd down. Yeah. And you see Sirianni did it in the Super Bowl, and the announcers and people in the media, everybody was completely, baffled about, it's 3rd and 9. Why is he running, an off tackle play?
Perfect example.
He's trying to get 5 yards because he's going for it on 4th down. And
Bingo.
It seems like the simplest concept in the world. Bingo. Yet only Sirianni and Peterson do it.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, when the mood hits him, Staley does it. The Cleveland Browns coach every once in a while will do it. He'll do it more this year with Watson.
Yeah.
But this kind of reactive coaching is just, I think you're way ahead of these guys. Belichick will also do it. Belichick did it in the game where they couldn't throw the ball and they beat Buffalo in Buffalo 2 years ago. Where, they're sitting at 3rd and 7, they're running the ball and they're getting 3 yards, or 4th and 2, who gives a shit, they're running it again. Yeah. So I love it. I do like Sirianni. I like his decisions. It's not just Sirianni, it's their, quote unquote analytics staff that helps them with the decision making. But I do think, I just worry about Hurt, number one, getting injured. I don't think he's going to be able to run crazy like he did. Obviously in the Super Bowl, he ran crazy. Also, I think their schedule is going to be it's going to be a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
I'm half speculating, but I do think there's a good value if you get 11.5 to play under on the Eagles.
Yeah, listen, you get film on a guy, and it's a great point with the 4th down, because on 2nd down what you're running on 3rd down to set up the 4th down. And we're seeing it with some of these coaches now. Dayball's starting to install it with the Giants as well. How about the Jets, right? All the buzz, Aaron Rodgers, 9.5. I looked at their schedule. It's friggin' brutal, man. Their schedule to start the season is...
First 8 weeks are ridiculous.
Yeah, so these people thinking they're going to jump out of the gate and they're going to be 6-2. Are you kidding me?
Listen, they're 4-4. That's phenomenal. That's really good if they're 4-4.
Yeah.
9.5 is juiced. I don't know. I've seen -130. I think a bookmaker, Pinnacle at -130. Couple places at -140. I actually, if I could get more juice, I like under 9.5.
I do too.
I do. I could see this. I could see all the hype. I could still see them making the playoffs. As crazy as that's in, but I could see them coming down, 8-7 after through week 15, something like that, and maybe. I just think that Salah didn't want Hard Knocks in their camp, and the NFL said no, we pick. You don't get to say.
Well, they had to.
They had to do.
They had to
So
do
I
it.
think it's a distraction for them. It's already enough distractions. He's a young coach. The defense is good.
Yeah.
They have Rodgers, but like you said, the first 8 to 9 games is brutal.
It's a brutal stretch. I mean,
But they play the entire West, I think.
Well, yeah, they played Kansas City. They played Denver.
They play Buffalo twice.
Buffalo, Dallas, New England, Kansas City, then on the road against Denver, at Philly.
I think they play in Philly.
Yeah, I'm sorry, home against Philly, and then they have a bye against the Giants. Yep. So, I mean, listen, that's why I'm saying there's a bunch of these teams that are crumpled in, 9.5, the Dolphins, the Saints, the Jets, the Chargers we talked about, the Lions. Are the Lions going to be all that hype that we thought a couple of years ago with Cleveland, where I was like, whoa, relax with this nonsense. Cleveland falls by the wayside. Or are the Jets going to be the hype that Tampa was when Brady signed with them?
I'm going to take a shot that say that, I mean, I didn't like the way Rodgers looked at all last year, and he's older.
Neither did I. He had a spot to win a game on the road.
He blew himself 2 or 3 games. I get it. Like, his guys were dropping balls. That game in Detroit, he looked like an old guy.
Horrible. And he
looked like an old guy who didn't want to play there anymore.
Yeah.
The history of how I play these, the NFL totals has always been valued unders, and I would take kind of a half gamble on some way less teams to go over, and almost always was the team the year before that was complete dog shit. So it's like, I actually like the Colts number, and I actually got, if you play over 6, see right now it's juiced some places 125, 135, as high as 140. I got over 6.5, -105 early on. And I do think I like to think I have a 6 because I bet it a while ago. I think it was right after the
6 is not a bad play. Well, one of the teams, you tell me.
But I think if I'm the Colts, but it's based on a couple things. That division isn't that great.
Right.
And I think Anthony Richardson, somebody that could come in right away and do things. He's gonna make mistakes, but he's such an athlete. He's gonna do what Jalen Hurts did and Lamar Jackson did early on.
Yep. Athleticism takes over.
Yes, it's more of a chance he get hurt. But I don't. I could see before he gets hurt, I could see them winning a few games that they shouldn't win.
Yep.
And Colts. The knock on the Colts has been, they've had a quarterback. You don't have a quarterback, you got a problem. There was a talk a few weeks ago. I can't remember where I heard it about. Everybody likes Andrew Luck. Who didn't like Andrew Luck? I mean, Andrew Luck was a great player. For all intents and purposes, great person, everything. But he really kind of screwed the Colts, if he was going to retire, he should have retired during the draft of that year. He waited till August.
Yeah.
And
it's just never a good spot.
And it's like, I don't think he did it selfishly. If I was him, he must have really, really, really been done. If I was him, I would have stuck it out that year and made it in my head. So listen, I'm going to play 10 games, and then I'm done.
But then what's the point of doing that? Why even do that?
Because you're screwed. Because you blew the team up where now they had they can't even get anybody.
Yeah,
to
but what
go
if they're
to a
8-2? What if they're 8-2 fighting for a playoff spot, and then he decides on that
Then
Monday
you tough
morning?
it out. Like his thing was, I just feel like I'm constantly, since I've gotten the pros, it's constant rehab, and I think speculating, he was thinking like, how many more years can I do
Can I
it?
do this?
And sometimes you get just to the end where you couldn't do it anymore. My thing is, you should make the decision in August. You should have made it that April, and it gave them a little bit of leeway. My overall point is the Colts still haven't recovered. I mean, Phil Rivers wasn't terrible. They played well in that playoff game up in Buffalo. But Matt Ryan was awful and Wentz was awful. So it's you start anew. I think their total is low because they shut a lot of people down last year, including the kid from Salem County, Taylor. And I think that division.
They played Minnesota well, and they played the Eagles tough.
They played the Eagles tough. They have a good defense. It's just, when you get to the end of that year, I think they pump the brakes a little bit. Everybody kind of does, and you regroup for this year. And I think they will definitely win more than 6 games. I hate to say definitely, but you know what I mean. I like that they can win 6 games in that division. I'm not sure what to do with the Lions. I looked at it. I think they're a little overhyped, but they can go 10-7. And what's the trivia question? There's only 2 teams non-expansion that haven't even made the Super Bowl. It's the Lions and the Browns.
Yeah, Lions and the Browns. NFC Championship's different, but the Lions and the Browns, that's right.
What point does the league give them kind of a cake schedule to get them into the play? Because let me put it this way, it would be a huge story if the Browns made the Super Bowl.
But here's the thing, right? So
if the Lions made the Super Bowl, same thing.
Yeah, and if the Lions make the Super Bowl, it would be the run that we saw a couple of years ago when Cincinnati played the Rams, right?
But the fact that it's Paul Brown, it's the Browns, Jim Brown passed.
Then you got the Ford.
It's a big. It would be the history of the franchise and the whole thing, and that's all gut stuff.
Hey, listen,
that's all narrative.
If they didn't let Elway go 90 yards.
But what's interesting is this. I like their coach.
Yeah.
I like their team. I like their defense, and if Deshaun Watson is healthy, which I think he will be, their total is 9.
9.
And it was 8.5 heavy juice early on, but I like their total, and I have Deshaun Watson with a lot of. He's not going to win any awards,
but you have player props.
On him. But I have him on a couple flyers of having the most passing yards, having the most combined yards, passing and rushing. I have a flyer, Cleveland to win the division. I did not play them to win the Super Bowl. I don't think the number is high enough. Actually, I would like it if they go 0-2 or something, because that's what happened last year when San Fran lost to Denver on Monday night. I played the next morning. I played San Fran to win the NFC and to play the Super Bowl at an astronomical number.
Yeah.
And my whole goal was them just to make it to the, make it to that final game, and then you could play around with the equity in that ticket.
That's like when Kansas City a couple years ago, I think, lost 2 or 3 in a row, or 3 or 4. All of a sudden, they dropped to 450 to win the AFC West, and I was like, grab it. And then they go on a run.
It's those early. That's something, but we'll touch on that in September. I don't want to, but I want to say, listen, these are a couple teams that'll be undervalued, but I don't want to talk about that in July. I will say this though: it reminds me of the year that Emmitt Smith didn't even play training camp.
Yep.
And held out.
Still won this.
And the Dallas lost the first 2 games. They were 0-2, and then. They came back and just absolutely, woodshed everything. They had a good regular season, but then once they got the playoffs, they were they were licking their chops on the team. I think that's the year that they crushed Pittsburgh.
Yep.
I think that was
95.
Yeah.
Neil O'Donnell. Still throwing it the wrong way. All right. Lastly, before I let you get out of here, a little baseball. Nice little slate tonight. How about this? How about the O's? Unbelievable. The O's and the Rays. I'll tell you this. I'm going on the record. I think I said it with you before the baseball season. The Yankees were going to miss the playoffs. I did say it. If the Yankees lose one against the Royals, that's it for Booney. There's absolutely no way. Done. That's it. I don't care about the injuries. I don't care about the inconsistent pitching. I don't
How
care
about this, Rich?
What?
Cashman's been there 25 years.
Get him out of here. Clean house.
Listen, Cashman's look back to year 1 through 6. You can't touch it.
Phenomenal.
No GM in sports history could touch that.
It was a rite of passage. They were winning 100 plus and winning the World Series, no doubt.
He was 3 in a row. A humpback liner from winning 4 in a row against the Diamondbacks. But it's a long time, 25.
Hey, you know what? To me, even though they lost that series against the Marlins, who upset them, they came back. Obviously, A-Rod was locked in a couple of years later against the Phillies. But other than that, come on, what are we doing? Like, seriously, if this was any other sport, he would have been gone by now. I mean, Belichick.
What's interesting is I'm surprised he hasn't looked for another job. Year 16, Cashman. I'm surprised in year 16 it wasn't like, you know what? Unless he loves New York that much, I'm surprised he didn't jump over to the Mets.
You've got data. Well, here's the funny thing. The Mets are going to need a GM.
He might go to the Mets. Why not? Change it up. I just thought for some reason, somewhere along the line, I can't think of anything I want to do for 25 straight years at the same place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to your point, the Yankees aren't very good. They're an average, slightly above average team, but they're in a division where everybody's good. And to your point about the Orioles, I looked this up. The Orioles haven't been swept since May of last year. It's 70 straight series. This Tampa series, I believe, is 71. The modern record since World War II is 72 or 73. The Braves were not swept from 03, 04 into 05.
Wow.
That's a long time. The overall record, I think, is Stan Musial's team.
Cardinals.
But it's pre-war, which is like some ridiculous number, 120 or 120 or something crazy like that. So I don't even count it. You look at that stuff, grain of salt. But post-World War II, with expansion and teams going to the West Coast and all that, more series, more games, what Baltimore's done is pretty impressive. I think over that span, they're like 118 and 50 or something. So people are sleeping on them. And meanwhile, Tampa's lost 5 in a row. I started paying attention. Of course, I look everything for the whole slate, but I did not think the Phillies would sweep them.
Yeah.
A few weeks back.
Yep.
I thought they'd win game 1 and 2, and I'm like, man, it's tough to sweep Tampa. I don't think they're going to get swept. And Phillies went in and did a number on them, and I said, man, I wonder if Tampa's still good. They're still going to make the playoffs, but the Orioles are just on fire. Well, and coincidentally, the Orioles are dogs tonight.
They are.
I think I got 129 or something, but I played the Orioles again tonight.
And a lot of it has to do with the pitching matchup. I think Eflin's pitching tonight.
Sure, it does. Yeah. But you know what?
But to your point,
we could go. I don't want to go too deep into this stuff, but the Orioles is not a terrible play today. If you're getting plus money on them, I actually don't care who's pitching against them. That's how on fire they are. They can hit everybody.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. And to your point with Tampa Bay, that's a really good point you bring up, because they took 2 out of 3 against the Royals. Then they got swept against Texas. And if you remember the first month or so of the season, their pitching was one of the best in baseball. Their starting rotation was like 1.36 ERA. Now it's like 3.96. That is a major difference, man, especially when your offense is struggling. You can't pick up your starting pitching. And that's kind of been their conundrum.
It's a long season. I mean,
Oh.
it's a long season. You get into, we're getting into another 10 days. We're going to be in August. We're up against the everything from the trade deadline to who's going to start dumping people and all. I think the Phillies are in a decent position. People, for some reason, were surprised that they lost 2 or 3 Milwaukee. Milwaukee's a good team. Milwaukee hits. Milwaukee's right around, Philly. I think,
they're right there with the Reds.
Kind of team that Philly is.
Yeah, in the NL Central. They're right there in the NL Central.
I do think the Phillies will go in, and I think they'll win a few games against the Guardians. I think Phillies, there was a early line I got today. Phillies was 114. I played the Phillies. I also played under 8.5 today. I do think you can go back to beating the shit out of Oakland. I think they had their little thing. It's put this way. I think the mantra on Oakland's going to be, if they're playing somebody who's looking for a serious playoff spot, get out of the way. Don't play them.
Yeah.
You don't want to play 3 minus 350, but I had Houston last night. I have Houston today. The one last thing I do want to touch on is, if I had one team that I think is going to be really tough to play, and they're not, you won't hear enough about them because of how Tampa started and Baltimore's playing on fire. But somebody can be, Texas is going to be right there too. Texas hits. Their coaches knows how to. It's a cliche to say knows how to win, but he does.
Yeah.
He knows how to win. He knows how to win the playoffs. He knows how to get his staff right. He knows how to go deep. I watch out for Texas. I think Baltimore. I'm actually happy for Baltimore, because Baltimore. I mean, when have they won?
They've sucked for so long.
Has it been 83?
Yeah, that was when they beat the Wheeze kids.
How many times have you been to the park since they won? They didn't have the park then. They were playing at Memorial Stadium. And remember when they built the stadium? That was like a big deal. Hey, let's go to Baltimore.
Yeah.
And they haven't been any good. It's like Baltimore should be good. Oh, yes, they have. I take it back. They had the good year against the Yankees when the kid in the outfield grabbed the ball.
Jeffrey
That
Mayer.
was a good
In the 90s,
team.
they were good teams. Yeah. So
that team was good.
Yeah. By the way,
teams are good.
hey, prop joiners from our good friends that played against sports. Before I let you get out of here, I got to troll for a minute, and you'll appreciate this. So I know how you feel about the experts on social media, and there's been a lot of chatter and talk that if you're going to be talking about the lines in gambling and handicapping, there is a sense of responsibility, right? So I'm driving around the other day and, flipping through the dial and whatnot, and I hear this spot for like the best bet of the night, right? So I'm like, all right, what do we got here? I think it was like from Odyssey or one of the channels. I was listening to the Fan, maybe in New York, I think it was. And I hear, hammer the under, Chicago White Sox, Mets, hammer the under. I wake up on Wednesday, the freaking score, the Mets won 11-10.
Yeah. I think that was Tuesday night. Yeah.
I'm like, what are we doing? Like, you can be off, right, by a run or two, but it's almost like sitting there saying, I scored a unanimous decision, and then 2 out of 3 had it the other way. Like,
what's more egregious here is, what's the number? I hear that's what gets up that's what bothers me. People will say, oh yeah, well, I like the under in Mets Boston. Okay, well, what is it? Oh, I don't know. That drives me nuts. So at any number, it's good. Okay, I'll give you. All right, under 7.
But I also think it's who's paying for the advertising or who's running the most commercials. If it's BetMGM, if it's DraftKings, if it's FanDuel, if it's William, whoever, you name the app, you name the whatever it is. If they're spending, then they want you to use their number.
That's fine.
But just give a number.
DraftKings copies, so they're not going to be too far off. They'll copy and then juice a little bit more, but at least say what it is. Like, is it 8? Is it because I used to get bar conversations like this. Oh yeah, I like you hear it in football. Yeah, I love the over in the Eagles game.
What is it? Tell me.
What is it? Oh, I don't know. It's like 45 or 47. I'm like, oh, I'll give you 47. But
after another beer, I'll give you 52, and I'll take the under.
Like Oh, is it 47? Well, let me check. Yeah. Well, which one is it? Games don't fall 46, 45. I mean, it just you know me. I'm of the belief that you can be entertaining and still
transparent.
You don't even have to be a winner. Just say what you're doing. Say what's right to at least give a head start to people. Like you're saying, play 6-game parlays. Yeah, that's the best way to go.
Listen,
maybe that's not the best advice.
I'm not even. Let
me leave you with this real fast. I know you got to run.
No, go ahead.
Unless you want to talk about it before the trade deadline, this came up, and we were a group of us were going to put money in a pool, yes or no. I'm on the no, but now I'm rethinking it a little bit. Will Ohtani get traded?
He's not.
Okay, so you agree with me. I thought a week ago, absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
Because to me, if I'm going to dump him, I dump him and I push Trout.
So
if you hold on to Ohtani, to me, Ohtani's the best story in baseball.
There you go.
And maybe my life. And I go back to the 76 season.
Okay.
Where the Phillies had won 101 games and got schmealed.
Yep.
Because they just couldn't beat the Reds, and then the 77 team is almost completely different and even better.
Yeah.
So I go back to that.
Yeah.
And there's what Ohtani's doing doesn't even touch us. I remember Randy Lurch for the Phillies hit 2 homers in a game, and I remember thinking as a kid, maybe we should let him pinch hit.
Yeah,
but that's why
they're not going to trade him, because that's the only reason to go to that ballpark. That's
exactly.
That's it. And you don't want to take that. What he's doing is utterly ridiculous. I told you a couple of years ago, I grabbed him at MVP, and it happened to be the same year that Trout got hurt.
We both did.
Yeah.
And I got an offshore number early that I was, and then when it came back to even 15, 16, 12, 13 to 1, that was still a great value. Yeah. I'm mad about last year. I didn't get last year. To me, he's the MVP last year.
But he's I mean, we kind of went back and forth with that between him and Judge, but I get what you're saying. But to your earlier point, he's the only reason you're watching that team right now. And I just think all of a sudden you trade him, new environment, different ballpark, all that momentum. He's going to win 15, 16, 70 games, and he's going to hit 50 home runs.
There's Howard Reynolds brought something up. I listened to Howard Reynolds. He said that Tampa's deep with prospects. I did not know this. There's a guy, what's his name? Keith Law, who writes. Keith Law has been involved with the minor leagues for a long time. You might remember him. He's the guy that said the Phillies should not overpay for Ryan Howard.
He used to write for ESPN.
You turned out to be right. But I haven't read Law's thing, but I almost think he'll probably agree with Reynolds and say if anybody could really throw a lot of stuff at the Angels, they probably would have to listen. But to me, if you're going to do that, how do you not dump both?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, man.
I would dump both and just get everybody I could, get rid of both guys. But if I own the Angels, because I'm keeping them, I'm going to lose them. But there's a shot I might not lose them. There's a small shot I can, I have another 2 months. Maybe I can get in his ear, say, listen, you want to stay here? The Dodgers are going to sign him. If I was
Well,
betting,
I would not say the Dodgers just yet. I mean, listen,
but if it came up, they're going to be the favorite. Mets have a lot of money too.
that's Mets
Uh,
have a lot of money.
Mets have a
San
lot of money. He
Francisco.
wants to stay. San Francisco could also do. I think the Dodgers are going to make a serious pitch to him, but I think the Angels could make another pitch to him as well. Either way, I don't think he'll be traded. More importantly, I don't want him to be traded because the Angels come to Philly the 28th, 29th, and 30th, and I'd like to at least see him pitch. If he's not going to pitch, I'm going to see him back. There's a rumor he might not pitch in September. I can't see how they're going to do that because he's still in the running for the Cy Young.
Listen, that would be horrible. It's when McGuire and Sosa were going back and forth in '98, and I know we're tight, but this will make you chuckle. I remember my father at the time, after he was retired, befriended Boys to Men. So they turn around, they're like, hey, we got some Phillies tickets. He's like, yeah, I'll give them to my son. I told my buddies, let's go. The Cardinals are in town. It's a Tuesday night. Let's go. No, because back in the day on a Tuesday night, we had to go hit Top Dog. So we're at Top Dog. I'm sitting there with my buddies, sipping on my gin and tonic. All of a sudden, I look up at the screen. Sports Center highlights come on. What a massive night for Big Mac. Not one, not two, 3 home runs. Wait, the next night we go, Gary Gaetti absolutely torches the Phillies with 2 home runs and drives in like 6 RBIs. So it wasn't totally lost. But to your point, it's like if you have an opportunity to go see him, go see him.
I remember the conversation. I remember the conversation during that time. Like, hey, are the Phillies just going to let McGuire get the record against them?
Yeah.
Like it was like they were throwing him meatballs.
Yeah.
I think that Ohtani. Now I was exaggerating on Twitter. I said Ohtani's going to catch Bonds. People said one guy's tweet back to him was actually pretty good. He goes, if he gets 59 more homers now to the end of the year, that's a bigger feat than breaking Bonds.
Yeah.
But I said if we get into September, we get to Labor Day, and he has 54.
Do you pitch to him?
53. Though? The record for homers in a month, Sammy Sosa had 20.
20. Yep.
And then the next year he had 18. McGuire's record was that year that you spoke of. He only 16 in a month. He had 16. But the record being 20, if Ohtani gets to 53, he's going to get 20 in September. He's going to get close. Because I'm going to tell you right now, some of these pitchers are going to be like, here it is. Here it is. Here it is. They're going to bat him first.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to get a lot of opportunity. He still might fall short, but think of everybody watching it. Everybody's going to want. They're going to do cut-ins. It's going to be – it'll be huge. It'd be actually funny if he gets to 70, you know. But I think an attainable thing is get the American League record where he beats Judge. Yeah. I think that's very attainable. And I also think that they should keep him. I also think that the Padres should dump Soto. We didn't even talk about, we'll talk about the Padres next week about how bad they are.
All right.
But let's hope that they keep Ohtani and hope that, I can go to the game the 28th.
Yeah. Well, why not? You got to enjoy it a little bit. Of course, the prop joined us as he does every week on BYP Back Your Play with Q. Don't forget, from our good friends at Played Against Sports. We will do it again. As always, give them a follow at Professor Shine on Twitter. Excellent insight. Always love breaking it down with you, my friend. Next week, we'll dive into a little more baseball. We'll continue with the NFL talk, but always appreciate a couple moments, pal.
Take care. Thank you.